Hey lads, you're not going to see my face for this video. That's just the way it goes. I'm going to try to be introspective here, and when I dig down really deep, it gets a little bit harder when the camera is trained on me. So I like to turn it away from myself sometimes, such as now. So enjoy the sight of my my calf, my knee, my socked foot, and enjoy the sonorous cadences of my voice. Sans my visage. Well, I don't want to talk about what I'm about to talk about if I'm just being self-indulgent. If this is, I mean, I know I've been self-indulgent before. I've said, give me leave to be self-indulgent here. I've owned up to it a number of times, but this is actually something that I don't. I'm faced with a certain sense of things, and it could just be that what I'm sensing is just my own life experience. And entirely related to myself and my life, which is not of interest to anybody else out there particularly. Unless it can be, unless it's relatable. But I'm not even, really interested in that. I've got to say that what I'm going to talk about is only of interest if I am correct in sensing that I'm not the only one who feels this way, that this is in fact a widespread feeling right now. What I sense right now is gloom, a sense of gloom, a sense of despondency, a sense of demoralization on a scale, on a widespread scale, or on a scale that is, I won't say unprecedented, because I'm sure there have been times where it's been worse, but unprecedented as far as I can remember, unprecedented in my own memory. Now, see, here's where things get a little bit tricky, because, one is going to be subjective to an extent. I can't claim that what I'm saying here is not that I don't apprehend things through my own filter, through my own consciousness. I of course do. So so there is a subjectivity, certainly, to what I'm talking about. But if it's only that, if it's only just the case of my stupid midlife crisis, or whatever the hell you want to call it, it's not, it wouldn't be a midlife crisis, because I'm closer, it's more like a nearing the end of your life crisis in my case. Midlife crisis would be optimistic, needlessly optimistic. If I was 34, if I was 35, or even 40, maybe it would be a midlife crisis, but I don't know. I don't even know whether I believe in the midlife crisis thing. Or if it was just sort of an invented phenomenon. But anyway, I do sense right now that, well, let me put it this way. I remember, because I've always been someone with a melancholic spirit. I've always been someone who tends to be somewhat pessimistic, who tends not to expect the best, not to think the best is on its way, but to brace, someone who is constantly bracing for the worst. And that's why I'm so anti-black pill, because it's just, why aggravate that already prevalent tendency on my part, but I'm going to turn the engine on because I need some air. So I've always had a melancholic temperament, but I can say that up until a certain point, and I don't know when the point was where this shift happened, where this change happened. I would say that beneath my melancholic temperament, I still had this optimism, or this hopefulness that things would turn out right, that things would turn out okay. There was time to see to it that things would turn out okay, or God works in wondrous ways. He's got a plan. He's going to put something together, and I was so I didn't just sink into the depths. I had a sense of yeah, it's tough, but you've got time, and the future is unwritten, and things are going to be okay. Basically, things are ultimately going to be okay. Things will work out. I actually had that sense for, I would say, most of my life, and it's paradoxical because this was at the same time when I was, as I said, mostly consumed with melancholy, mostly pessimistic, mostly tending not to feel like this is any kind of golden age, either a personal golden age or certainly a society-wide golden age. But at some point that shifted. And now I don't have that sense anymore. I'm afraid to say I don't have that sense anymore. I don't think things will be. I don't think deep down things will be okay. I don't feel like. I don't. It's not a think. I shouldn't say I don't think it, because it's just a gut sense. My gut sense is that things are falling apart, and things will fall apart even more completely and utterly, and things will get more miserable. Things are miserable now, and they will get more miserable. And there's no turning this ship around. We've hit the iceberg, and it's going down, boy. It's going down. It's just a question of time. So this is as I said before, though, I've got to keep coming back to this disclaimer, or asterisk, if you will, that what I'm feeling could just be my me being a product of my circumstances, and I'm not gonna, which I will not detail right now, but I had a lot more to be personally optimistic about at age 35, at age 40, at age 45, even, than I do now. Or at least that's how it seems. I mean, this is not a pity party, okay? Don't mistake it for that. Please do not mistake it for that. Please don't. I can be self-indulgent, but this is not one of those times. And again, I think this is something. My sense is that this is a more widespread feeling. This is a more widespread phenomenon, and that there are people who are a lot younger than me, who have their full lives ahead of them, and for them, that's not a comfort. Imagine being young and thinking, I've got my full life ahead of me. Oh, God. Oh, God. I still have my full life ahead of me in this crappy world that's only getting crappier. Oh, fuck. Sorry to laugh. Sorry to laugh. I'm not being callous. I'm just saying that's just not something that you don't typically think of it that way. You typically think of youth as being more like, oh, yeah, but it, there's time. There's lots of time. I've got my whole life ahead of me. I can work this out. There's time for me to work this out, and things will come together. I remember feeling that way, but and that was how I felt when I was younger. As I said, even though to all appearances I was, a melancholic, pessimistic sort of person, I still had I didn't just hit rock bottom. I couldn't get too depressed because once I sunk low enough, I always bounced back on that trampoline that was beneath me, that shot me right back up again, which was, there's time to fix this, and things are going to be okay. Things will work out in the long run. Trust God. Trust the plan. I don't know. Trust that things will be okay. Have faith. I'm just imagining what it would have been like to have your youth be a burden, where it's like, oh man, I envy you, 52-year-old. At least you're gonna die, not too much longer from now. I'm 22. I have to live for who knows how much longer. Probably. just that just struck me as funny. Again, I'm not mocking anybody. Honest Injun. I'm not. It just tickles my funny bone a little bit. But I have again. I have a sense that this is not just this is not just a me thing. If this were just a me thing, look at that door in the sky. If this were just a me thing, then you just have some guy in his 50s going on about how miserable and depressed he is, and that's just annoying. Who wants that? That's boring. I wouldn't want to listen to that. Even if it was me, I wouldn't want to listen to that. I would change the channel or turn the video off or start or go elsewhere. But that's the sense of things. The sense that the bottom has fallen out. That the hope that used to be there is not there anymore. That is the sense of things in 2023. Like, compare 2023, compare the current year. Since we can say this is the 20s. Oh, it's the 20s. You haven't heard too many people say that yet. We're living in the 20s, but we are. Just like it was the 80s and the 90s, way back when. Now it's the 20s. You can finally talk about the decade in a way that's not too complicated. Like the aughts, talking about the aughts was a little complicated. Talking about the teens, because it was sort of weird to call them the teens, because it wasn't just the teens, right? It was the tens, which included the teens, but also numbers that didn't end with teen. But now it's the 20s. So compare the 2020s to the 1980s or the 1990s. I remember back then, people who would say, "Oh man, things are falling apart." It's to quote Tom Buchanan from The Great Gatsby, civilization's going to pieces. There would be people who were saying that. People who would say this ain't no golden age, like Michael Penn in his first album. But there would always be the retort of, well, that's what you say, but look at we've got, this is good. You say the 40s or 50s were the golden age. Well, the 40s and 50s had these problems and these problems and these problems, and now, in the 80s and 90s we get it's so much better with regard to those problems that we just cited. Those problems are gone, whether it's curing illness or I don't know, racial discrimination or whatever the hell they wanted to point out about the past and say that the past was bad because of X or Y or Z. These things are better. There was this ready retort, is my point, in the past. Now that's not the case anymore. Now somebody says, "Man, things suck now. This is a terrible time. Everything is terrible, and it's only getting worse." You say that, and then there's no retort. There's no retort anymore. I don't hear people defending the present age. I don't hear people defending the current year. I just don't. It's just not happening. Even people who are behind all of the pernicious trends of the current year, they're miserable too. Do you realize that? The wokeists, the SJWs, the trans activists, the fifth wave, the ninth wave, the 12th wave feminists, um, and all the rest of them. They're totally miserable people. They're not like they're not saying, "Man, we got it made right now," because things are really looking up. We're finally getting these we're finally getting all of these things that make it a more just world. They're not even saying that. You're not even hearing that kind of the kind of retort from those people. They're miserable too. Have you noticed that? And as I said a few videos ago, when I interviewed my kids, both of my kids on their own, without commiserating with one another, they both lead very much their own lives right now. They still see each other and talk to each other, but they're not constant companions the way they were when they were younger. But both of my kids, my son and my daughter alike, they both told me, yeah, the 80s were great. The 80s and 90s were great. I'm so jealous that I didn't grow up during the 80s and 90s. And I laugh because I didn't think of myself in the 80s and 90s as being, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, I didn't think of myself as being, wow, this is so great. I'm so privileged to be growing up right now. I honestly didn't see things that way. I didn't feel things that way. And it's just a don't know what you got till it's gone. It's not that, because things weren't that great in the 80s and 90s, but they're a hell of a lot worse now. That's the thing. It's all a matter of comparison. It's a question of bad and worse and very, very, very worst. I didn't expect to laugh so much at so much tragedy and disaster, but there you have it. You have to laugh, I guess. So even my Zoomer age kids. I guess they're Zoomer age. My son is 17. He'll be 18 in a few months. My daughter's 20. I mean, even they're saying things were better back when you were a kid. I would have loved to have grown up back when you were a kid. You can go back and watch that interview and hear them say it, hear it for themselves. And I don't think they're alone in feeling that way. There was nostalgia in the past. There was nostalgia back in the 80s there's nostalgia for the 50s. That's what, or in the, like, even the late 70s, that's what we had. Grease, the movie Grease, and then we had Back to the Future, and Peggy Sue Got Married, all these movies, and whatever, like old-fashioned diners, that were made in the style of the 40s and 50s diners that were meant to be retro and stuff. So there was nostalgia back then, but it's not like it is now. Back then the nostalgia was tempered by this sense of things are good, or things, even if things aren't great, even if things are pretty messed up now. There was this sense of we can make this work. We can find happiness, whether it's personal or societal. And now that is totally gone. A dark shroud has fallen over all of that. And again, if it's just me, if this is if this is just an old man, or I'm not really that old yet, but if this is just an aging man's regrets, or an aging man's missing his youth or whatever, that would just be boring. If that's all this is, then then I don't even want to talk about that. That's just a waste. Get over it, old man. That's what I would say to myself. But I think the reason why I'm making a video out of this, the reason why I'm making this into a video, y'all know, or maybe you don't, but I can't stand like reflexive nostalgia, like going back. Like if I see, if there's a video of an '80s song on YouTube, and all the comments are, man, things were so great back then. I remember back in '81, I was I drove up my pickup truck with my girlfriend. We saw the Journey concert, and it was just, oh, damn, I sure do miss those days. I can't stand reading comments like that. It's just so pathetic. It's so, just shut the hell up already. I don't have much sympathy for people who just wallow in. I mean, I understand nostalgia, but people who just wallow in it, I just find it disgusting. So this is definitely not that. There's more going on than that. Something bigger and more important than that. So what do y'all think? Am I full of it, or do I have a point? Let me know below. Thanks for watching.